Welcome to this episode of The City That Serves. I'm Council Lady Paula Stennett, and it's that time of the year again. It's October, the chill is in the air, and Halloween is on the brink. We'll be there in only a few days, and before we get there, we want to prepare the children of the city to be safe. Joining me today is Captain Gary McConaughey of the Fort Oglethorpe Police Department. Gary, thanks for joining me for this episode.
It's always a pleasure.
Well, leaves are falling. We've got spookables around every corner. Every store is selling the costumes, and moms are getting ready. And I love candy.
Don't everybody?
Yes, so candy's a good part of this holiday, but candy's only a part of it. How do children enjoy this holiday but stay safe?
Well, I think that, as always, we want our children to enjoy themselves. And to stay safe, they just need to be cautious and vigilant, especially around the cars. Now, what we have a lot of times is a lot of these costumes, and they're getting more and more elaborate with the costumes, with the latex and the things that go over your face where you can't see. They cut down your vision a lot. So the more realistic the costume, the harder it is to see out of them in most cases. So I would say that if you really wanted your children to be safe, make sure that you supervise your children and you stay close to your children and not just let them go out and trick or treat on their own.
Should I wear dark clothing? How should I make sure that I'm easily visible?
Well, as a parent, I would suggest that moms and dads wear something that's highly reflective so that they have the reflective tape so when light hits them, they can be seen. And as long as you're staying with your children, that protects your children to a large degree. Unfortunately, when we start buying all these costumes, you're right that they're usually dark, and animal type costumes are covered with different types of hair, so you can't see them as well at night. But they do have some other things that you can do for your children. Reflectors on their shoes, on the backs of their shoes especially. A lot of the bags now that they sell for the children to use are actually made of reflective material. So if you send your children out with the bags to collect their candy, get the bags that have the reflective material. That makes them a whole lot easier to see.
What about glow sticks and flashlights? Should mom and dad carry those? And how about the kids?
There are a lot of things out there. The glow sticks are a good idea. Flashlights are an outstanding idea. They actually make little lights now that have almost an LED or a strobing light inside that you can actually clip on your belt. We first saw those in law enforcement where you could clip them on your traffic reflective vest so they're actually flashing and people can see them. Now, what I would say it would be great to stick those all over your children's costumes, but sometimes, depending on how elaborate the costume is going to be, you've got a fine line between keeping a realistic looking costume and then making it to where there's all these lights and everything all over it. So I would say it would be up to the moms and dads, depending on what kind of costume it is, to decide. But flashlights are a great idea. The Siloam glow sticks are a great idea. I like the reflective tape. Is a great idea, especially if you put it on the backs of the costumes, because most of the time when you're walking, the light, you're going to have your back to traffic when you're walking on the sidewalks and the traffic going both ways. That gives you a whole lot better. Stay out of the street if at all possible. Even walking on the shoulder is very dangerous because during the fall we start seeing the days get longer and longer and longer. So it gets dark sooner. So at 8 o'clock it's almost completely dark as we start getting into the mid and late fall.
Okay, yeah, the daylight hours are short, the evening hours get very long, and bottom line, be visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Parents and the little trick-or-treaters, be visible. Be as light as possible. Reflective tape, flashlights, glow sticks. Wear light-colored clothes, mom and dad, as
mom
you're
and
going
dad
around
especially
with your trick-or-treater. But motorists need to be very vigilant because, as mom and dads know, your little trick-or-treater may decide to run across to another house before you know what happens.
Being a child, having been a child myself, a lot of times you're thinking on one thing when you're out there trick-or-treating, and it's get to the next place to get more candy. More candy, more candy, more candy. It's sort of like when the ice cream truck pulls up, and the children hear the ice cream truck, and they go sailing out to the street. How many times I've been out in the yard before when I watched my daughter take off running towards the street when she saw the ice cream truck. They don't know any better. That's the reason moms and dads have to be extra vigilant with their children. And as motorists, you have to be extra vigilant on holidays, around school times, There are certain times when you have to be extra vigilant. You should always be vigilant, but there are other times when you really need to go that extra little bit. There will be a lot of children on the roads this year doing trick-or-treating because it falls on a Saturday this year. Where in the past, we used to have people call the police department and say, Halloween's on a Thursday this year, so when are we celebrating Halloween? Well, the state don't sanction when we celebrate Halloween. Halloween's the 31st every year, regardless of what day that is. If it's on a Sunday, it's on a Sunday. If it's on a Monday, then we celebrate it on Monday. But what we had before was some parents would say, well, I'm going to take my children out on Halloween, which is Thursday, for an example. Other parents say, well, no, we're just going to wait and go on Friday night or celebrate it over the weekend. So you had the trick-or-treaters spread out over a greater period. This year being on a Saturday, you can rest assured that all the trick-or-treaters are going to be out on Saturday.
So anytime Halloween, 31st of October, falls on a weekend, we know we have a lot more trick-or-treaters present at one time. Trunk-or-treats are very popular now, and I really try to promote trunk-or-treats where there's free candy and at a good location where children can come together and do safe things. And I know there's a lot of those in Fort Oglethorpe.
And I'm going to put you on a spot here. I've heard that term before, but I'm not exactly sure what a trunk-or-treat is.
Well, a trunk-or-treat is when a lot of people, let's say from a church, a local church, will get together and they'll open the trunks of their cars and they'll give out candy from those cars. And the church parking lot is usually located at an area that is known to be a family gathering place, so that you can feel a little safer when your children are there with a lot of other children. Now, children run willy-nilly. We talked like that. Should a child ever approach a house that does not have a porch light on?
Absolutely not. And children should not be out approaching houses unless mom and dad are close, mom or dad, or mom and dad are very close. So you shouldn't allow your children to go 4 or 5 houses down. It is a sad time that we live in some parts. The number of sex offenders that are out. And I would strongly suggest every parent be aware of that. You can go on your local sheriff's department websites or the Georgia Bureau of Investigation websites and search for sex offenders. That's something I always worry about because you never know.
True.
And a child can come up missing in no time at all.
Very quickly. So school your children. Never go in the house.
Never.
Mom and dad, stay vigilant and stay nearby. Wait at the, my dad always walked me to the driveway, watched me ring the doorbell, knock on the door, trick or treat, come back down the driveway, meet my dad, walk to the next house. He never just turned us loose and said, hey, go.
And there are things that we do, and I say we meaning my family. We buy candy. And when my daughter goes out and does her trick-or-treating, when she returns home, we switch the candy that she got trick-or-treating. Not that there's anything wrong with that candy, just for a peace of mind, we swap the candy out and discard the stuff that she picked up. Now we also try to go to only people that we know, or neighborhoods that we know to be good neighborhoods. But again, I'll leave that up to the parents of where they take their children, but just be aware that there are certain people in this world that will do things to hurt others or children. So be really careful with the candy. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I would rather say this, and it never ever happened, than not mention it and something happened.
True.
Now, we all heard those stories growing up about people putting razor blades in apples and pins in apples and candy and lacing candy with different drugs. I've never known of that actually ever happening. I've never heard of it actually happening, but we all hear those what we call urban legends.
Yes.
Sort of like the old stories where people would go on vacation and wake up and they were missing a kidney or something.
Oh dear.
You remember those stories, waking up in a bathtub full of ice and a kidney missing. Those were just urban legends, and I don't know that it's ever happened, but anytime you start talking about things, sometimes people will do it. We know we had the scare with the Tylenol once before, where somebody was tampering with Tylenol in the store. So it's not entirely impossible that somebody does product tampering.
True.
So inspect the candy.
Inspect the candy. Look it over. If the wrapper seems to be
Throw it
askew,
away. Throw
that piece of candy away.
Yeah, you wouldn't buy a gallon of milk from the store that the lid was
No,
seal was
never.
broken on, right?
No.
So do the same thing with the candy. If you get something that's in a box that's supposed to be sealed and that seal is broken open, discard it.
One piece of questionable candy is not worth risking your child's life.
Absolutely not.
Discard candy that just appears maybe not to be quite together. Don't take any chances. I agree totally. So we've covered visibility and vigilance on moms, dads, and children.
And other motorists.
And other motorists. And we've talked about candy safety. Anything else you can think of?
Let's see. Halloween is a time sometimes when the teenagers get out as well.
Oh, yes.
So, as a homeowner, if you plan on participating in the Halloween festivities, turn your porch light on. Make sure your house is, make sure your house is very well lit up. That way the kids know where to go. Get your teenagers in. Moms and dads, get your teenagers in, because I will assure you the police are out in a little bit heavier force on Halloween, because in the past, nothing bad, there's a lot of pranks that go on. And sometimes that what could be an innocent prank starting could end up being a criminal act if something gets damaged or torn up.
True. We've seen that time and time again, where kids maybe get a little carried away.
Gets out of hand very quickly. And even adults do that as well. You'll see adults do the same thing, but teenagers in particular are a little bit more likely to get out of hand. So don't park your car in the street. Don't park your car close to the street. If you got a garage, keep your car in the garage. Just little things like that. Just because what could be a prank may be an inconvenience for you the next morning. I knew somebody one time that actually did it to a police car. It was a group of us back there in the police department back in the early 90s. And it was supposed to be a joke. And somebody put Vaseline on the windshield wiper, just so when you turn the wiper on, oh gosh, I can't see. The only problem with that is if you're going down the road, when you turn your wipers on, now you can't see. So sometimes what seems like an innocent joke could get somebody hurt. So we have to be careful with that as well. So keep that in mind. You know, innocently rolling somebody's yard, what was it? I want to say back in the 80s, someone was shot rolling a yard. So be careful when you're going onto somebody else's property pulling a prank, because it can get very dangerous very quickly.
Exactly. Good advice. Good advice. Well, that's this episode of The City That Serves, and it's Halloween time, so I'm going to start working on my costume. I've already started now. What do you think?
Well, you need something else there. Here, you need something like this.
Like that?
Something like that. And of course, I'm used to wearing a hat, but I usually wear something like this.
Oh, sort of John Wayne-ish with the hat there.
That's the way we wear our hats to the police department.
I like it.
2 fingers. Just
Two fingers.
Like that.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The City That Serves. I'm Council Lady Paula Stinnett. This has been fun filming, but the bottom line is protect the most precious assets we have, our children. Safety first. God bless America, and as always, it's a great day to be in Fort Oglethorpe. Trick or treat!